The dome beneath the scorching star was an ocean of ashes and dirt, drifting under heat waves of a restless tide. In the hazy skyline appeared a silhouette, a boy, 15, maybe 16. His striped t-shirt had been bleached almost to white, jeans torn at the knee, sandals worn flat. On his head sat a cap that once screamed obey. Yet under the sun's punishment, a single Y remained. The airport loomed, glass shattered, steel ribs exposed to the sun. A carcass eroded by the sands of an invisible clock. Runways cracked like old bones and scattered remains of a giant metal birds that once soared the skies. Inside the hollow terminal, air carried the scent of a tomb, and the sound of silence was all that echoed. Specks of dust danced, teased by the boy's path. Signs dangled from a single screw, holding onto an inexistent rescue to be repaired. An escalator stood frozen at mid-step, caught halfway up or halfway down. The boy moved with reverent silence, like the shadow of a pilgrim wandering into a sacred necropolis. He knelt beside a wall and dug until he unearthed a socket. From beneath his shirt came a slithering sound, similar to a sword extracted from its sheath. A pale blue cable of ethereal appearance uncoiled and plugged in. The world split open. Light dragged him into a tunnel, where two versions of the airport rolled over one another, like film reels out of sync. One world ruin, sand swallowing chairs, cracked walls, air dead and heavy. The other alive, voices, footsteps, luggage, wheels rattling, children running, announcements, bright boards blinking arrivals and departures. The two scenes overlapped in flashes until it was impossible to say which was more real. Yet life prevailed. Color returned to the boy's flesh. His cheeks flushed, his eyes kindled into blue sparks. The blue cord hummed and glowed faintly, then disappeared. People bustled around the boy without ever truly seeing him, shifting instinctively, like a school of fish avoiding to be prey. The terminal opened to a waiting area just before departures. All flights had been delayed, some cancelled. Rows of seats were full. More people sat on the floor, groups leaning against the walls of open cafes and restaurants. A shroud of apathy and tiredness lingered. The boy stood in front of one of the windows and paused in meditation. Outside, past the ramps, the perimeter of the airport met unkept fields, decimated by the advance of construction sites. Beyond, smog crowned the skyscrapers that pierced the forget-me-not sky. The boy felt it, a low hum. The world blinked into a stranded existence, then instantly returned. Nobody noticed, yet the boy searched for the one that now could see him. A child, no older than 7, sat cross-legged against a wall. He had frizzy black hair and dark eyes. He wore an oversized red jumper that swallowed his frame, grey sweatpants, and old runners. In his hand he held a plastic dinosaur. In front of him sat an open can of cranberry juice. A pair of loaded backpacks laid beside him. There were no parents at sight. The boy offered the child a smile, quiet, almost private, one that held fraternal kindness. After a brief presentation, they began to talk. Both sat on the floor, sharing the can of juice. Soon they were lost in conversation. Oddly, the child, called Mark, had already forgotten the boy's name. Mark lifted the toy dinosaur as if it carried a secret knowledge. Hey, fun fact, the kid began. This guy, he's made of things older than dinosaurs. The boy tilted his head, playing dumb, the way someone older lets the younger have the stage. How so? Plastic comes from fossil fuels. Fossil fuels comes from marine life that lived millions of years before dinosaurs. A warm chuckle escaped the boy. You figured that out yourself? Clever. Thirsty for knowledge, huh? Mark grinned, nodding. Mum says I read too much. He raised the rubber toy as if in defiance. Some people think dinosaurs never existed. That makes no sense. What about the bones? The child's phone buzzed, and he retrieved it from his pocket. Hope flared, then died as fast as it came. He put it away with a grunt. Stupid Wi-Fi. What's wrong? The connection here sucks, that's what. He lowered his voice sheepishly. I sent a text to my dad, but he hasn't replied. We don't live together anymore. My grandma doesn't stop texting. The boy's cable flickered into reality, coiled as the tail of a feline around his legs. It blinked and vanished again. Mark's eyes widened. Whoa! Did you do that? Are you a magician? No, the boy said. Just a traveler. He picked up the can and drained the last of it, placing the empty container carefully between them. A thirsty one. Passengers streamed past, unconsciously veering around the boy. Their eyes slid over him as if he were a column or a shadow. The child frowned, noticing. Mark's mother made her way to them. Sorry, hun, there was a long queue for the toilet. You finished that? She said, grabbing the can. Thought we were gonna share it. That's a lot of sugar for you, mister. I didn't drink it all. He had some too, Mark protested as he pointed at his new friend. She blinked, looking right through the boy. Who? The boy stared at her in silence. She sighed, rubbing her forehead. Mark, it's gonna be a long day, and I'm not up for jokes, okay? She turned on her heels before her son could complain. Be right back, I need a coffee. Alone again, the child turned to the boy and whispered, Are you a ghost? Do you believe in ghosts? He inquired, perplexed. No. The answer came too fast. Doubt tugged at the corners of his mouth. Come on, Mark pressed on. What are you? The boy only shrugged. You're a clever one. Figure it out. The cable shimmered into reality and vanished again. The child gasped. Hey! How? You for real? Outside, a flash of bright death bloomed upon the skyscrapers. Silent at first. Then a shockwave swelled, rumbling towards the airport. Through the terminal's windows, people pressed to the glass. Some began recording on their phones. Others tried to make calls. Wild despair fell like a heavy net. Waves of reality blinked, washing the terminal back and forth between ruin and life. The boy sat cross-legged, calm amid the tremor of escalating horror. His closed eyes, every part of him, glowed with the same electric blue. The Y on his cap shone as a neon light. He leaned close to the child. His words were quiet, almost gentle. Mark, listen. The child, who intended to join those looking outside, stayed put, at first curious, then obedient, captivated by the boy's surreal presence. Dinosaurs are gone, but you believe because of what they left behind. Around them, screams of terror, panic attacks, people trampled in a race with a shared destination. Just a few remained still, embracing acceptance. But for Mark, the boy was the only thing real. His temperance poured into the child, a spurt of calmness in a stream of chaos. The Wi-Fi isn't any less real because you can't see it. His voice softened, as though he were handing over a truth that should be carried, not spoken aloud. The boy began to blink, like a hologram losing its signal. His question lingered before he broke connection. So, do you need to be visible to exist?